Hey, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. As always, it's really great to see you. You know, after last week's presentation on the market update, and those were the numbers, of course, for May 2025,
Mm-hmm.
we received a lot of feedback,
Yes.
a lot of inquiries, and probably the major question that was asked to us last week was, are we in a buyer's market, Denise?
That was the question. So Ray and I started really good discussion, turned into a fight, but then we
Sometimes
made up.
spirited.
Sometimes no blows were, went off. So, but we had a very spirited discussion about it. I think I like that word. And I think where we're at is that we both agreed that the market is changing. And I think the severity as to how much is changing is where we disagreed a little bit. I don't know if you want to say what your thoughts are.
Never, you know me, I'm the wallflower. I rarely have an opinion. But yeah, we did have a bit of a conversation about this. And it's always fun because when we do this unrehearsed, we always find out that we surprise each other with similarities, but also our divergencies as well.
Yeah.
My proclamation to the world that listens to me is that we have not entered into a buyer's market as of yet. Certainly, the marketplace is starting to stabilize and maybe coming back to to a situation in which there's an evenness between the seller representation and the buyer representation, if you will. And one of the points that I came to that I thought I did very well with when Denise and I were talking about this is that the average sale price to list price. So that's a number we always look at to say what's happening when properties go on the market and they're listed. What is the original list price to sale price percentage?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, both in April as well as in May of 25, they're staying now just slightly above 100%, but they are staying at least at 100%. And I kind of use that as a barometer to see where the trend is. Interestingly enough, in April, it was 100.7%, a small drop in May to 100.1%.
Mm-hmm.
So, Denise, take that information and do with it what you will.
No, I agree with that. What I am seeing is that those numbers reflect the end of May. We are now in the middle of June. And what I feel is more the sentiment and what agents are experiencing is very different. And it literally is neighborhood by neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we keep talking about real estate is local. Don't look at national numbers. Don't look at national news. Look at Northern Virginia. But within Northern Virginia, and I actually pull the data because that's what I like to do.
That's what you do.
Though at the end of May, Northern Virginia did have an increase of almost 2% in the sale price from the previous month, 4% from the previous year. Loudoun County price actually fell 3%. In the Fauquier County, it went up. In Prince William, it went up. I even pulled Clark County, 11% increase from the previous month. And we are seeing a lot of activity moving west as well. So I think to say, I do have to concede to Ray that it is not necessarily a buyer's market at this point. There are changes that we are seeing, and I think one of it is the price adjustments are going to continue to happen.
Yeah. And as we talked about last week, we're seeing many more of those.
Yes, and I think it literally is specific neighborhood by neighborhood and area by area. And I think the sentiment that agents are having is, why aren't the listings moving? And I think it's not necessarily a reason to panic. I think it's going to take longer for that home to come off of the market than we previously that we were used to. That's it.
And my thoughts on those points, I think all very well taken, and a great observation is that there have been sellers as well as listing agents that were probably still optimistic as to where this market is going. I'm not suggesting that they don't look at the numbers like we analyze constantly, but I think a lot of those price reductions were coming from probably overly optimistic listing prices that they began on the marketplace, because we did watch a number of these properties go under contract once they brought them down. And we work with a lot of buyers. In addition to the sellers that we work with buyers as well, of course. And doing the analysis that we've been doing, we started to realize that the numbers where the properties were going under contract and eventually settling were pretty much, if you did a CMA, we're right there kind of where the market should be,
Right.
which is something we've continued to suggest to our sellers over and over again, which is do not inflate those numbers because you think the market's going up. We don't believe it's going up like it did before. Put it right there where the CMA is, maybe a smidge below. You may get competitive offers and drive that number up. So my contention is with the price reductions, and we're seeing many more of those than we did before, is that those were just overly optimistic, perhaps listing agents or sellers. Because what we are seeing, as we talked about just in our report last week, we're still seeing that the median sold price is still continuing to go up. The numbers we used last week is that it was up 4.6% from 12 months ago and just 1.9, but still headed up from the month of April. So those are kind of 2 points, again, with my perspective, is that when you have the original list price to the sale price still staying at about 100%, and you're watching the prices go up, those are my contention that it's really not a buyer's market at this point.
Right, right. There is definitely a shift, but to say it's a buyer's market, 100% no.
Yeah.
Not for sure. So I think we agree on that.
I think we do.
I think we do.
Yeah, well, again, as always, we really appreciate you tuning in. We certainly hope that we haven't confused you more than we've always confused you in the past. But this is kind of the analysis that we really enjoy doing. And we're out, every single day doing this. And it's fun as we talk to the different, factions within it, whether it's the sellers, the buyers, the real estate agents, everybody's got kind of a take on this right now. So stay tuned. The big event is happening this week, yes. Wednesday. The Fed chair and, of course, the Federal Reserve will announce as to whether the federal funds rate will stay where it is, which most anticipate that it will. It potentially could be risen. And as you know, the current administration is pushing hard on them to reduce it. So we'll report back to you later in the week. Stay tuned for probably a short that we'll do.
Yes, we'll probably
and give you an update.
Yes. So big things ahead. Pay attention. And we are always open to your comments. So please let us know what you're seeing. We always want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and keep those questions coming. They give us great material to argue about later on. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.